Hello, 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 everyone. Good evening. Good to see everybody. Hey, Miss Justice, number one girl. All right. There we go. There we go. Oh, look, she number two, too. I'm just kidding. Number two is, whoa, a whole lot of stuff here. What's it? Tanya, how you doing, sweetie? Good to see you. You number two tonight, girl. You number two. God bless. Hello, PG. Hello to you. And spread love, number three. All right. Hey, PG. Love and prayers. Hey, girl, right back at you. God bless. And my Australia. All right. Number four, girlfriend. There we go. God bless. Good to see everybody in here. Hey, Kathy. How you doing, sweetie? Our bucket list has holes. God bless. 1956, how you doing? Carrie, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Let me get down through here. Don't want to miss nobody as we go down the line. I'm going Rexon. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, hon. It's crazy out there. Don claiming they've been cleared. And did I hear that correct? Yeah, well, his mouth. Yeah, you heard it correct out of his mouth. And that's what he said. Um, hey, always L8, how you doing, sweetie? Good to see you in here tonight. Hey, Lisa, how's it going? How's it going? Wendy, good to see you. Jane, I'm trying to go down through here and get everybody I can. Oh, that is beautiful. Beautiful Australia. God bless. Hey, Karen, how you doing tonight? I don't know if I got you yet, Lisa, or not, but there you are, girl. And Greba Mama, good to see you. All right, we're at, hey, Wendy, how you doing, sweetie? God bless. Um, hey, Deputy Sheriff, good to see you in here. God bless. Good to see you, hon. Good to see you. Okay, I'm gonna get started with this tonight. Because I've been getting head up. I've been getting hit up left and right. So everybody knows PG has been hiding. Right? I've been hiding. I've been taking a break. But anyway, hold on just one second. Okay, sorry. I'm back. I'm back. Anyhow, they've been a lot of people hitting me up. PG, and Don sending out, all this stuff over, on Find Summer Wells, the Facebook. And so I looked it over, you know, and I looked into it. Well, I posted out because I haven't, I've been really super busy, you guys. I'm working a lot of overtime right now. Like I'm working a ton of overtime and everything. I've got so much going on. But I ain't forgetting about the missing kids. I'm not forgetting about none of you. I'm just trying to do what I have to do, you know, in my personal life. And So anyway, I was getting super hit up and everything. And I was like, I got to open up a live. I got to come in here. I got to let you guys know, you know, um, what I believe is going on. And basically, Don wanted to come out with his little video. Right here it is.
Hello, everyone. This is Don Wells. We're here to report to you that we've got official letters from the heads of DCS that we are cleared from any abuse or neglect on our parts towards our children. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Okay, that's that.
Hello, everyone. This is Don Wells. We're here to report to you that we've got official letters from the.
I listen. They did get legal papers. They did get some legal papers, basically saying, what these papers were saying is, Child Protective Services kind of, dismissed everything because none of the kids are any longer, they don't feel any of the kids are any longer in danger or anything like that. And the two youngest kids have already been adopted out. Um, you know, uh, it's unsubstantiated is what the word is. Um, you know, and if the children have been adopted, the parents cannot regain custody. Once the child is legally adopted, the birth parents lose all parental rights. The adopted parents gain permanent rights and responsibilities. The adoption is legally binded process that creates a new family unit, and that's exactly what happened. The younger boys were adopted out, and the older boy, you know, was separated from the younger boys because he had a lot going on. He had a lot going on. And what happened was, they sent him to to my understanding, he was at a ranch. He was at one of the ranches where, um, where they try to, take kids that have a lot of issues and things to, a lot of issues and problems to cope with and to, and to get over. They take them there and they try to help them get past all their anger and a lot of the issues that they got and so forth and so on by letting them work with animals and teaching them farming and all kinds of other things and helping them to get a better education and so forth and so on. It's more one-on-one help with these kids that go to ranches and the places like that. So that's basically, where he was, according to the people I speak with, from what I'm hearing. This is what I'm hearing. And I believe it. I believe that's where he was as well. And anyhow, I don't know what all was going down, but he got put back into the system. I think he, I think he got over a lot of his issues and everything. And he the ranch place, the ranch place is for people who need help. I think he was getting better with, he was getting over a lot of the issues that he had before he went there and kind of like graduated. Okay, that's what you would call it, I guess. Kind of graduated out of there and, and was on a better road to success when, when he left to go back into the system to find his forever home, right? And that's what he was doing. He was trying to, to find a forever home, hoping to be adopted by, some good people and everything. And I'm not sure he's going to be returned to the Wells at all. But he, 16, he's 16, 17 years old now. And so he's aging out. He's aging out anyway. As he's basically aging out. And he can be emancipated. They may have emancipated him. I don't know. If they emancipate him, then he's considered an adult. He can go wherever he wants to go and do whatever he wants to do. But like Don and Candus, the two younger boys, they're safe. They're been adopted. They're safe. And Child Protective Services mainly was concerned. I think their main concern was for the younger boys anyhow. And the older boy, was, I guess there's no nice way to put it. The older boy was kind of, ruined when he went into Child Protective Services. He was kind of ruined by the influence of Don and Candus and hunters and Allison's family and other very bad people. What I'm saying is this boy didn't ever have no good mentors. The oldest boy had no good mentors, and they already started introducing him to things that a child his age should have knew nothing about. And he was a problem, right? He was a problem. If he wasn't, then he probably would have been adopted along with his his other two brothers. But he wasn't good like the other two boys, and he was being an issue for the people who took him in, and they had to separate him up. Mainly because Don Wells was the cause of a lot of it, to be honest with you. Don Wells, every time that Child Protective Services was allowed Don and Candus to speak with the boys or see the boys, Don would always try to get the oldest boy and slip off and say stuff to him and kind of basically leading to being a problem, right? Leading him to be a problem. That's my opinion. And that's why they weren't allowed to. Actually, that's why their visitations were cut off. Their visitations were cut off because, Don was asked multiple times to quit talking to the oldest boy and trying to get off with him by himself. Candus was calling, the adopted parents and stuff when she wasn't supposed to. She'd get to drinking or whatever and was calling them up, saying stuff and so forth. And that's why their visitations got cut off. It's because, they were doing a whole lot of stuff they weren't supposed to be doing. Right? Oh yeah, I agree, Bluebella. Absolutely, I agree. What you know, exactly right. Don and Candace Wells wasn't looking. They weren't looking to give their kids a better life than they had. They wasn't looking to send their kids, to educate their children, send them to the school, send them to college. They wasn't looking to, um, make their children, make their kids' dreams come true of being something far more, far more than what Don and Candace was. And they wanted their kids, Don wanted his son to be just like him. He wanted his son to, push, push drywall all of his life. He wanted him to slide that mud. Don wanted that boy to slide that mud and, be just like daddy. Slide the mud, but put all the money towards, illegal substances and things that it shouldn't go on. They were already, they was already introducing the child to, illegal substances according to, according to witnesses that were around watching it, right? I mean, you had Allie and her family saying, Candace and Don gives illegal stuff to underage children. You had, Jose saying, hey, yeah, he brought this kid to work. He was out there doing stuff that, parents just shouldn't be doing with their kids. Um, there's a lot of witnesses too. And I'm telling you, if that ain't abuse, I don't know what is. I don't know, what abuse is when you're not trying to give your child a better life than you had yourself. When you're sitting there trying to turn your child onto illegal substances that a child should not ever have, ever. You should be telling your kids to say no to stuff like that, not giving it to them yourself, not trying to turn them in to what you are, right? If you're that type of person. It's not righteous. There's nothing righteous about it. But that's what the witnesses that were around there, the ones that actually, was there and seen it, that's what they are saying. And I believe it. And I believe it. They have no reason to lie. They have no reason to lie. And, and I'm sure that, Child Protective Services and them actually, it was Donald himself that said, that they didn't want him seeing the kids no more because, he kept getting around his older son, leading him off and saying stuff and doing stuff. And, it was them themselves that also, gave out that, they was calling, the boys when they weren't supposed to. Candus would get to drinking and then dial the foster parents' numbers and stuff, and start talking all out of her head or whatever that her and Don do, and they just got their rights to the boys completely cut off altogether because of these things. They also, lost all rights to their kids as well because they didn't want to, they didn't want to do what it took, to fight and get the boys back. And the number one thing that they had to do was clear themselves in their own daughter's disappearance, which they couldn't do. But 4 years down the road, we're 4 years down the road now. And Child Protective Services feels like, the oldest boy he's aging out. He's aging out of the system anyway. He can be emancipated at the age he is now. And, and really it seems to me like they haven't really had nothing but, issues with this particular child anyhow. I mean, they even had to put him, send him to the ranch place and to try to work with him and get him to overcome a lot of his, issues that he had. And then they put him up for this adoption, and it seemed like, nobody was trying to give him a forever home. And I think that they just basically, just said, look, it wasn't the court didn't really rule over, DCS. DCS basically said, we're just done with it all. We're done with it all, and they just dropped it. They just dropped it, They dropped the appeal. They dropped everything. And just like, these kids are adopted out. We're not worried about them anymore. Summer been gone 4 years. If law enforcement finds her, then we'll just reopen the case, right? Don says, well, if Summer comes home, Summer's found, she'll be coming home. She won't. No, she won't. In my opinion, this is my opinion. If Summer's found, in my opinion, Don and Candus and Grandis are going to jail. That's my opinion. That's what I think. And, and I hope Summer is found. I hope she is found at some point. I hope Summer gets justice against the evil beings that have done this evil thing to her. Now, there is a PI out here talking. There's a PI that's also out here talking about, two brothers, I tell on the one brother, and they'll go easy on you. That this one brother called him up, said, "Oh, I don't trust nobody but you with this information because for some reason, you know, um, you just came to my mind, and I just needed to call you and talk to you and about turning my brother in." For doing something very evil. I call BS. I call BS because I'm going to tell you why. This particular PI, he wants to bring it out here to YouTube instead of going to TBI, FBI, Hawkins County Law Enforcement. He would rather bring it out here to us than to report it to law enforcement. Oh, he's going to report it on Monday. Well, I'm sorry to tell you, but law enforcement, the tip lines are open 24/7, right? It's open 24/7. And he could have, I think if someone told you something that important, then it would be important to call law enforcement like ASAP and, see if somebody don't want to get back with you ASAP before this stuff gets cold in the mind of the person that told you. Wouldn't you want, per se, somebody was to say, "Hey, PG, my brother did something and I want to trust you with this information." Well, I'm going to tell you, for one, I'm going to be recording that information up. I'm going to be taking names, recording this stuff up, and as soon as we hang up, I'm calling law enforcement. And I'm going to tell law enforcement, you need to listen to this. I don't know who this person is, but you must and you should. And you need to get to them like now, before they change their mind about telling on their brother. You need to go find them and, and get whatever you can out of them for the sake of this child, because right now, what I'm saying is when someone tells you something in an hour, they might not want to talk about it anymore. In an hour, they might, calm down and change their mind about everything. So time is, is precious. Time is very precious when you're talking about a topic like this. And you really need to report it and get to this person as soon as possible so that, if there is any information to be had, it gets had for the child's sake. Now, this guy's playing games. He's playing games with some sensitive information that, he felt is important. I don't feel it's important, to be honest with you. I think it's all BS. To be on, that's my opinion. I'm going to keep it. I think it's all BS, and I think he knew it was BS, but he was going to use it to his advantage. He was going to use it to his advantage out here in the, in this YouTube community for, I don't know, attention, some self-gain. I don't know what he was seeking or what he's after. I don't even know the guy. But I have heard, I have heard not good stuff. I have heard not good stuff about him. So, and a lot of people's like, PG, you need to talk to him, this and that, and one thing and another. No, I don't want to talk to him because, I feel that, he's full of BS and I don't mess with people that's full of BS. he's on for PI. He's very unprofessional, if you ask me. He's unprofessional. Um, hey, Australia, appreciate that super sticker. All right. Hey, girl, God bless. And Janet, members for 11 months. All right. I appreciate you supporting Summer's channel and for always being here for Summer. God bless, girl. Yeah, but you know, I just think it's, I don't mess with people. Put it this way. I don't go around mulberry bushes. I don't play games with missing children's cases. I don't care about click, likes, and views. You guys already know that. I never, I never will, never have, and I won't ever care about that. Um, it just ain't me. It ain't me. And it's just the way it is. I come out here and I care about these missing children. That's what I care about. And I ain't got time. I ain't got time to play with no BS when it comes to these missing children's cases either. And I'm not going to sit around and listen to some PI that wants to say he's got information that he isn't ASAP turning into law enforcement, because that right there allows me to know that it's nothing but BS. Okay? And that's what I'm trying to say. And if that hurts his feeling, tough shit, right? That's where I'm coming from. I don't even care, but I got to get Don's face off the panel, because looking at it, it's just overwhelming to have to look at a face that, in my opinion, I feel that Don and Candus Wells and Grandis, I believe these people, corresponded together. I believe they plotted, employed, and corresponded together to destroy this little girl, and I can't stand to look at people that are evil enough to do such a thing. That's my opinion. I'm going to keep it. I don't believe in no two damn brothers doing any damn thing, because Don Wells is the one that changed up his vehicle. Don Wells is the one that fired his co-worker to blame everything on. Don Wells is the one that was, protecting his ass on June 15th, 2021, with Starlink and his phone and everything else, and hiding at work. Don Wells is the one that, on the 15th, fired a co-worker to blame it all on. Don Wells was the one protecting that ass when all of this went down in every possible way he could, which shows us that it was premeditated, pre-planned, and carried out on June 15th, 2021. And I will keep that, because that's my opinion, and I will keep it. It makes perfect sense. Also, Summer is on those milk jugs. Now, I played out for you guys the other night. I played out for you where Hunter said that she was wet on a pillow next to the driver's side door after they went swimming. That, at Sonic's, she was wet on the pillow against the driver's side door. Now that came out of Hunter's mouth. Summer did not come out of the swimming hole and get dried off and get dressed up and get put in the car. No, she didn't. We know that now. We know now that she did not, she did not get dried up and put into and clean clothes because she went swimming. No, she didn't. What happened is at that swimming hole, in my opinion, this is my opinion, at that swimming hole, Candus got that young boy to do a very dirty deed because something was wrong with Summer that they couldn't fix. Now, that's what I believe. And I believe that they had Hunter do something very horrible, and I believe he did, for Candus, and I believe Summer was carried back to that vehicle put inside on that pillow against that door. I believe they went back over to the medicine, Walgreens. I believe they did go to Walgreens, and I believe she was laying against that door. There was no movement inside the vehicle of Summer at Walgreens, no movement of Summer at Sonic's, no movement of Summer at Priceless. And that's why Ronnie Lawson said, you ask them why it took them 4.5 hours to call law enforcement. And that's why Ronnie Lawson said that, because there was no movement at any of those places on none of the cameras of Summer at all, because she was against that door on that pillow, I believe, unalived. And when they got to Allison's house, I believe that's where they took her in, and they cleaned her up and they dressed her. And I believe that they even tried to put some makeup on her to cover up, because she's already turning, like the size of her head, already turning, the color that people who pass away turn. And I believe that they put, because she had lipstick, you could clearly see some pink lipstick smeared at the bottom of her lip. I believe that was makeup. I believe that, they put some makeup on her and they staged her up on those boxes and milk jugs, and, and headed back towards Ben Hill Road, where I truly believe that it was already set up for Candus to meet up with Chad Arnold and leave out of Ben Hill Road. Now, where did they go? I don't know, but I suspect they may have went right over there to that open grave where they put Summer before they ever even called law enforcement. That's my suspicion. Or they may have took her somewhere else and hid her until they could get her in, until they could get her down in there. Down into that open grave. To be honest with you. I mean, Andy Bernard says, that's where he thinks she is. Jody Sue was talking about that grave early on, back in 2021. Andy Bernard, he came out talking about that grave. I think some of these people know where Summer is and they really want her found because it's bothering their conscience. I mean, if you knew where a little 5-year-old child is, right? Where a 5-year-old child's at, and and everyone's looking for it, and that somebody put it down in someone else's grave and put a great big vault over top of it and everything else, and it's down in there all alone, all by its little self, probably wanting to be found, probably wanting to be put in its own place, like anyone would want to. You would tell. I mean, how could you not tell? How could you not hint around to try to get it found? And I think that's what, Jody Sue was doing early on. I think that's what Andy's been doing. And somehow, I think they do got a little bit of a conscience when it comes to a 5-year-old child. Who wouldn't have a little bit of a conscience? So, that's my opinion. I believe, something was going on up there. They were some really sick people. I mean, look what was happening over in Arkansas. I mean, the same thing. They were over in Arkansas bringing, homeless women and stuff there that had children so that they could, get the homeless women, all substanced up, right? They wanted to get them all substance up so they could take their babies, their children away and be, doing bad stuff to them, SAing them. And, all of these kids at Don and Pam's house over in Arkansas, all of these kids got took away for SA, right? They had a bunch of SAers. And I think that's exactly what was going on up at 110 Ben Hill Road. I think, Jody Sue said, Andy was supplying the stuff to sedate these little girls, not just Summer, but other little girls to be touched. And Don Wells even came out. I mean, he even came out with you know, here we go.
You said you
Where
had
the f you get that shit from?
Don. You said you had
Holy
videotapes
crap.
of me.
What happened?
What?
What did you say, Betty?
I have videotapes of Josh, apparently. What the f?
I don't know why you're laughing.
Holy
You're the one that
crap.
said it.
Are you serious?
Don, you said,
How do you know that I said that? Why would I say that?
yeah, that's a great question.
Number one, I don't lie, bitch. You can get that through your
I don't,
right
I
now.
mean, everybody lies.
Absolutely. And Don and Candace have done nothing but lie. You know, that ain't my opinion. That's the truth. They have done nothing from day one of Summer coming up missing. They have done nothing but lie. They have done nothing but tell untruths, right? They lie, lie, and lie. They didn't look for their daughter. They didn't do anything. I mean, they didn't want to pass out flyers. They weren't passing out flyers. They weren't, these are two, actually three, even that old granny, right? Even old granny was healthy as hell, it seemed like. And, her and Candace could have been handing out flyers everywhere. Don Wells could have been handing out flyers everywhere. I mean, they could have all split up and handed out flyers all over the place. I mean, if you got a missing child, you're going to be handing out flyers everywhere. You're going to be having all the people you'll be handing them big handfuls of flyers. Ask them, can you give them the hammer, the freaking tacks, you give them tape, you give them whatever they need to go and help hand these things out and hang them up wherever they can be hung. Because you would want your child found. But not them two. I don't think they put up one damn flyer, to be honest with you. And if they did, it was probably in front of a camera just for show. But behind the scenes, I know of not one that they handed out and didn't plan to hand none out either. And also, they did not want the billboards. Don made that plain and clear. He wanted the money. He didn't want the billboards. He said, Sissy, why are they wanting to buy billboards? Why don't they just give me and Candace the money? I said, well, giving you guys the money isn't going to help find Summer. Then billboards will. People drive by. If anyone's seen her, they're going to call in and they're going to, possibly lead law enforcement to where this child is and bring it home. Nah, he wanted the money. Okay, well, if you don't want billboards for your child and your child brought home, what's that problem here? You feel that these billboards are a waste of time and money, then you obviously, must know what happened to your kid. You must already be in the know. If you're not wanting your child found, there's something wrong, right? There's something wrong. That's how I think. That's how I think. And I think right. I think right. But, and he didn't want the reward fund once he found out he couldn't get it. He even asked me, Don Wells asked me, he asked me if I could check in to seeing if, he could get the reward fund. Would they give it to him? I said, Don, they don't give parents the reward fund. No parent can get the reward. You're the one that's supposed to be giving the reward to have your child found, not the one trying to collect it. What do this don't sound right. But who was he going to turn in? Who was he going to turn in? I think Grandis and Candus. I think he was going to turn in Grandis and Candus and possibly Hunter. Because, he had himself protected at work with Starlink, and he had himself protected with, the cell phone and everything. And I think he was honestly, going to somehow turn those three in And even if and take the risk of Candace saying no, you did this, you did that, one thing and another. He was willing to take the risk and say no. I overheard your mother, and what did you guys do? And I think he was going to try to get the reward fund for himself. But when he found out, because he's, the parent and he can't get it, well, they just didn't want it anymore. They just didn't want it anymore. But I'm telling you, he was after it. He was after that reward fund, straight up. And if he was after it, then he must know who did it, right? He must know who did it. Because he was going to turn their asses in if there was a chance of him being able to get that reward fund. So, and that's the truth. That's the truth. Straight up. Ain't got no reasons to lie. That is the straight up truth. And Don Wells wants to take a lie detector's test along with me to see who is lying and who ain't. We could do that. Because I tell you right now, sure in the hell ain't me, is it, Don? No, you was trying to get it. Who was you going to turn in? Who was you going to turn in? You must know who you was going to turn in. And I truly believe it was Candus, Grandis, and Hunter. That's my opinion. Hey, Carrie, I appreciate it, honey. Super sticker. All right. I appreciate your support for Summer's channel. God bless. Absolutely. Yeah, we do. We do appreciate. We appreciate it all. God bless. But yeah, absolutely. Don Wells was after that reward fund. But once they figured out they couldn't get it, they didn't want it, just like the billboards, and they sure wasn't handing out flyers, as I said. Candace calls me up one day, and she says, Sissy, what are you doing? I said, not much. Candace, how are you? She said, I'm doing good, but I could be doing better. I, gave a chuckle, ha ha ha, and really, how could you be doing better, girlfriend? I was thinking, well, probably all the shit that they was going through, child gone, all this and that, and I'm sure she could be doing better, but I didn't want to bring it to her attention. You're trying to cheer folks up, not make them think about, all the problems they're having. I told her, what's up? And she says, I need you to speak to Donnie. I said, me? Speak to Donnie about what? She said, he won't take me to the fair. I said, what do you mean he won't take you to the fair? The PIs, they want to go to the fair, and Donnie don't want to take me. I said, why not? He needs to take you. If the PIs are willing to go with you and Donald, hand out flyers, this is in my head. This is in my head, you guys. If the PIs want to go with you guys and hand out flyers and look to see if somebody's, insane enough to bring Summer to the fair, somebody that might have took her would bring her to the fair, if you guys want to go and look for her, then by all means, he needs to be going with you and helping out as well. You guys all split up. You could cover a lot of ground, right? Put out a lot of flyers, check out a lot of faces to see if any of them Summer. Of course, why isn't he going, Candace? She said, no, sissy. It's not about her. I said, what? I'm going to tell you. Like, shock, right? It was shock. I'm like, what the hell? What do you mean it's not about her? Yeah, she told me it's not about Summer. I said, what? She said, it's not about her. I said, and what is it about, Candace? I want me and Donnie to go with the PIs and have a good time. Like we used to have, like before. Just me and Donnie. Wow, really? Are you kidding me? I'm going to tell you something right then and there. Right then and there. I was like, fuck these people. They done something with this kid. Right? They ain't no mom. There is no true mother going to want to go out and party up while her child's missing. It would have been all about her child. It would have been all about her child. But these people, it wasn't about their child at all. It wasn't about their child at all. Matter of fact, they didn't want to talk about their child. I had took note that Don's wanting to get that reward fund, so he must know who did it. They were telling people where Summer wasn't, so they must know who did it. She's telling me it's not about Summer. Don don't want to talk about Summer, because he wants to talk about anything that he knew wouldn't put him in prison, but he didn't want to talk about the one thing that he felt would put him in prison. That was his daughter. I'm going to tell you, it was all adding up. All adding up. And I'm going to tell you, by the time you got done doing the math, baby, the only people that were guilty as fuck are these people right there. Don, Candus, and Grandis. There you go. There you go. And then you have to start taking note to who was around them. You got to start taking note, to what else was going on that day. Well, the things going on that day, like, Hunter out there in the water with this kid and so forth and so on. And, and then you have all of these things going on. Well, you have to go down every alley in order to put the puzzle together and truly figure out what has happened. And I think we have figured out what went down with Summer. By the way Don and Candus was acting, right? By the way they were acting, I think we found out exactly the truth about it all. And, Hunter helped us out a lot when he told us that, Summer was wet on the pillow against the door during, Walgreens, during Sonics, during the store and all of that. And then, it helped out a whole lot when Ronnie Lawson said, you ask him why it took 4.5 hours to contact law enforcement to report all of this. So that, that puts Summer back on the milk jugs, where they truly believed that she wasn't with us as well, but they couldn't prove it. So, I believe that if Summer is found, Don, Candus, and Grandis is probably going to have, probably going to be in prison. That's my opinion. And I'm pretty, I'd say I'm probably right. To be honest with you. Put it this way. If it was a horse, that's the one I would bet on. And I think I'm sure to win. Just saying. And so you got a lot, as far as this PI goes and his two brother BS, I don't even want to hear it. I'm not even going to listen to it. Because you know what? We've all been in this case from day one. We all know exactly how this case has, played out. He don't know none of this. That PI does not know anything whatsoever about this case. He has done no homework on this case. He's just coming, he's just coming out of the freaking blue and talking a bunch of crap, if you ask me, right? A bunch of crap, like he knows something when he don't. He's going on, I can plant the seed in people's minds and it's so easy to lead people astray. And that's exactly, was his plan, if you ask me, is to, try to basically mind F everyone and to believe in a whole lot of BS that ain't nothing for his own recognition. And it ain't going to happen in Summer's case. I'm going to tell you that right now. It's not going to happen in Summer's case. I don't care if this guy's listening. He's not listening. I don't give a damn. What I got to say to this PI is don't come to this channel. You're not welcomed at this channel. because ain't nobody here going to listen to your bullshit. We did our homework, mother freaker. You need to go do yours, okay? That's what we got to tell him, right? There you go. There you go. Put a 1 in the chat if you agree with me. Because I'm going to tell you what, it doesn't matter if I got to stand alone, which I don't think I will have to. I think Summer's Army smart enough to know that we're not going to get misled by nobody where Summer's case is concerned. We are out to get this case solved. We are out to get this baby brought home. We're out to get this baby found. We're out to get justice for this baby. And we're not letting nobody's BS getting away of that. We're not going to stop and listen to a bunch of bullshit. We don't have time for bullshit. This baby's already been missing for 4 years. It's time to bring her home. It's time to get justice against these evil beings that could do something so evil to a little child. And Don and Candus can sit around and they can talk all they want to. They want to bring out their little paper where Child Protective Services said, what more do we have? What more do we have to be holding all of this stuff up and costing the state money? We don't have nothing. We have a missing child, and if it is ever found, we're going to open everything back up anyway. We have 2 kids that we've already adopted out, and we don't ever have to worry about going back to that home at all. And we have 1 child that these people already tainted before it ever came here. We can't really do a whole lot with it. We wish we could. But this kid's about to age out anyway. And if it wants to go back, let it go back. And they pretty much washed their hands of it. So Don and Candus can bring out those, that paperwork that get the courts and everybody wash their hands with, so it don't cost the state any more money keeping all of this going. Because everybody's protected anyhow. And like I said, this 1 kid's almost an adult. It pretty much can do whatever it wants to do at this point. So it doesn't matter. And that's the way they're looking at it as well, I'm sure. But the point being is, Donnie Candus can bring out this, BS paperwork or whatever they want to, and they can spin it any way they want to, right? Do what they want to do with it. Bring out those paper, you were so quick, Don Wells, to bring out this paperwork of, the Child Protective Services has dropped everything to keep the state from having to pay any further for, all the BS that's been going on with you. But why don't you bring out those lie detectors tests? Oh, that's the one damn thing I didn't see them bringing out, right? They didn't have no paperwork. They didn't have no paperwork flying out here about their lie detectors test, did they? Oh, I remember seeing Fred Heels. Fred Hill, he was exposing his paperwork where the lie detectors test was all over the place. Well, where are the paperwork for your lie detectors test, Don and Candus Wells? Because I'm sure you can go right there to Hopkins County Law Enforcement and you could say, hey, could I have a copy of those, of those lie detectors tests, please? You're supposed to send them to me in the mail. If I got them, I don't remember what I did with them. I don't know if I even did ever get them, but I know that you're supposed to send them. So is there a way I can get a copy of it anyway and put that out here for us? Put out here that you passed that shit. Because I'll tell you what, I don't think you did. That's my opinion. I'll keep it. Because I know that if you're so eager to put, this paperwork out here and pat yourself on the back with, because you didn't think anybody was smart enough to, figure out why Child Protective Services does this. I'm afraid we did our homework and we found it out, Don Wells. We found it out. But Why don't you show the lie detectors test, right? Who all would like to see the lie detectors test? Put a one in the chat if you'd like to see Don and Candus's lie detectors test. Let's see those tests that says passed, right? Let's see those tests that says passed, right? Big old pass stamped on it. I want to see it. I want to see it. Let me see it. Just saying, right? Of course, we all want to see it. Absolutely. Look at this. Everybody. I think everybody in the world's wanting to see it. Let's see that big old pass lie detectors test. Fred Hill showed his. Show yours. You know. Show us the lie detectors test. Why not? Oh, I know why not. Because see, they wouldn't get a pat on the back for that. They wouldn't get a pat on the back for that. Now put a two in the chat if you think they did not pass it. Put a 2 in the chat if you think they did not pass it, and that is why we haven't ever seen it. They were so eager to put this out. Right? They were so eager to put this one out. Yeah, that's why they wasn't eager to put the other paperwork out. I'm going to tell you, if they put this shit out, they'd have put the lie detectors test out if they would have passed it. If they'd have passed it, baby, they would have done been out here, right? I mean, they put all the pictures. Remember they were saying, oh, and Donnie's supposed to have pictures of PG. Donnie's supposed to have some pictures of PG and all of this bullshit. Yeah, PG's supposed to be sending Donnie some really bad pictures. And did you remember they had none to put out? Do you remember they had not a damn one to put out? I'll tell you why, because there was none. There was none to put out. They lie. They lied their asses off. They didn't have no pictures of PG, no sexy ass pictures of PG. I wouldn't send my sexy ass to Don Wells. Fucking hell to the no. I don't think so. Not today, baby. I mean, why the hell would you want to send 60 pictures to a broke ass like that when you could be sending them up to some sugar daddy, right? There you go. I sure the hell ain't going to send my pictures to the mother freaking sitting on the passenger side of his best friend's ride trying to holler at me. Hell no. I ain't that stupid. But there you go. Call me a gold digger. Call me what you want, but I like a man able to take care of his own ass, not looking to me to take care of it all the time, right? I ain't got it like that, and I ain't about to spend it like that either. There you go. I'm going to tell you, my parents raised a damn fool. It was one of my siblings that sure the hell wasn't me. That's all I got to say. But they sure did put out Cher's pictures, right? They sure did put out the one that was really sending them freaking butt nasty pictures to, brokety broke ass Don Wells, right? Oh yeah. They showed all of that shit. Why? Because they had them. Because they had them to show. And I'm telling you, if they passed the lie detectors test, they'd have been showing that shit just like they're showing this shit. Because they thought this paperwork right here could gaslight everybody. Well, it ain't gaslighting me. Because I know how CPS operates. I know how they operate. And I'm going to tell you right now, summer's gone. The 2 boys are adopted out. They're not ever coming home. And the 1 boy is aging out anyway, so they just don't care. And they shut everything down, and they don't give a damn about the Wells or anything, concerning children any longer unless Summer is found. And if she is, they'll step back in. They'll step back into all of this. And she will not be going home with no Don and Candus until Don and Candus can clear themselves from her disappearance. And that's the way it is. But I'm going to tell you something. In my opinion, if they were to find Summer, Summer ain't going home anyway. Summer is no longer with us. And that's my opinion. And why is that my opinion? It's my opinion because Don and Candus Wells has let us know from the beginning that Summer is not with us. Don and Candus Wells let us know that they know what happened and Summer isn't with us because they weren't handing out flyers. They was not wanting billboards. They were not wanting the reward fund after they figured out they wasn't going to get it. They said that they'll see her in the resurrection. Candus said, her boys are still here. They're still alive. Summer will always be with her. They let us know. I mean, they've been memorializing Summer from day one. From day one. They've been telling everyone where she isn't. And if you can tell someone every place a child isn't, then your ass must know where the child is, right? It's just the way it is, you guys. It's just the way it is. And I'm going to tell you, let us not forget this. Let us not forget what I'm about to play out here. Don and Candus want to pat themselves on the back because, CPS decided that they're no longer important anymore. That they really don't give a shit about Don and Candus any longer because all the children are safe. And they probably truly believe that Summer's in the arms of an angel too. And that she ain't ever coming back anyway. So they don't care. And they're not going to keep all of this cases open, costing the taxpayers any more money with it. So they send them the paper letting them know, we're done with you. That's what them papers are. We're done with your ass papers. That's what it is right there. And if your oldest son, who is aging out, wants to come back, oh well, we're not going to stop it, right? We're not going to stop it. We protected the two younger ones. We're hoping and praying that the one that's missing is found. But we're done with you. And they've washed their hands. They've washed their hands with the Wells. And no, Karen, actually, Candus took little Summer to the school. Candus was at the school with the kids, and the teachers themselves witnessed Candus abusing Summer. Candus was abusing Summer, and more than one teacher turned it in and actually had Child Protective Services get involved. And that's why Child Protective Services was up there on the hill at the time Summer went missing, was because of Candus abusing her in front of some teachers. That's what happened. But I want to play this because you know what? These people are abusive. They are abusive. And they admit that they're abusive, and they admit some awful, evil things that, Don and Candus think they're untouchable. And we got to ask ourselves why. Because they think that they can even say stuff like this and not get no repercussions.
No, I don't lie. I don't lie, motherfucker.
I'm not sure why Candus thinks it's so funny. I can play it for you if you want to hear it.
Because my boss called me, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, look, Josh. Okay. You can fuck off or you can suck a dick or whatever you want to do.
All right.
Whatever the fuck it is you do, you little.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
But my boss called me the other day. Man. Yes.
Okay.
Richard.
Oh.
He called me. I said that I sold somebody a tape, right? I sold some motherfucker a tape for $5,000 that showed him having sex with my daughter, right? And then I sold, and he was crying. This motherfucker was actually crying. This motherfucker is like a big shot of this community. Like, oh, holy fuck! And he was crying. He says, "But they're calling me a child molester," and I'm like, I started laughing.
How's that funny?
I'm like, it's not funny, bitch.
See? There you go. There you go. There you go. Would you like to hear that again? Would you like to hear Don and Candus laughing their asses off about selling a video to someone of their boss doing something very evil to Summer? And they feel they can come out here like Jody Sue could come out here and tell you all about Andy sedating Summer, right? All about Andy giving Candus the stuff to sedate not only Summer, but other little girls to be touched. Don and Candus, feel that they can come out here and they can, let you all know exactly what they was doing with their daughter. Exactly what they were allowing other people to be doing with their daughter. And they think, give up the middle finger to you guys. Give up the middle finger to all of us. Right? What you going to do? What you going to do? We're untouchable. We're unstoppable. Why? Why? Well, you heard Don say. You heard him say. Let me let you listen to it again.
Oh. He called me. I said that I sold somebody a tape, right? I sold some motherfucker a tape for $5,000 that showed him having sex with my daughter, right? And then I sold, and he was crying. This motherfucker was actually crying. This motherfucker is like a big shot of this community. Like,
big shot of this community. Lots of money. Lots of money. How many videos did they have of big shots that have lots of money? Is that why Summer's case ain't getting solved? Is that why law enforcement went running in and using some, a little bit, supposed to be some ammunition down in a safe they didn't know about? Was that why they kicked the doors in, went into that basement and broke in and broke open that safe? Was that what they was looking for? Was they looking for something they didn't find because Candus done got it all together and had moved it to Kathy the friend's house and had it all hiding so that they couldn't get it, like she did them clothes in the box? Candus packing it all around with her? Yeah, think about that. Think about why the ball has been dropped so bad on this little girl's case that seems so easy to solve. Ask yourself that. And these parents admit. If you was to come out and admit to some stuff like this, your ass would be wearing some handcuffs. You would be wearing some handcuffs downtown, getting questioned up, and probably put in jail for a while. I hope you would have one hell of an attorney, because you would need it. But the Wells, they don't need anything, do they? They don't need anything. I'm going to tell you, there's something the Wells know that we don't. Something they know as the reason to why they are not being prosecuted in all of this. So, who else is on videotapes doing sinister stuff to children? I think that might be the question we want to ask, right? That's probably the question we want to ask. What can Don and Candus possibly supply that someone's afraid of? So afraid of they don't want to solve this little girl's case. Just saying. Just saying. What the hell is really going on? Right? But I'm going to tell you guys now. Child Protective Services will close up a case like that. They will close up a case like that when they feel this is what happens when they feel that, you know, there's no more threat to the kids. There's no more threat, you know, to the children. This is what they will do. You know, it's just withdraw everything. They'll just withdraw everything, let the court shut everything down, and you know, be done with it. I don't want to see, you know, I don't want to see this type of paperwork right here that, you know, ain't worth the paper it's written on. I don't want to see that. What I want to see is some lie detectors tests that Candus didn't pass and Don Wells didn't pass. I want to see those lie detectors tests, you know, where they miserably fucking failed them, if you ask me. Why don't they show us that? You want to show us something? Show us what we want to see instead of a bunch of bullshit, right? Show us something we want to see. There you go. But they thought it was really funny, right? Could you imagine being the child of these two people right here? Could you imagine being the child of two people who are sitting there?
I sold some motherfucker a tape for $5,000 that showed him having sex with my daughter, right? And then I sold, and he was crying. This motherfucker was actually crying. This motherfucker is like a big shot of this community. Like, holy fuck! And he was crying. He says, "But they're calling me a child molester," and I'm like, I started laughing.
Yeah. How would you like to be their child? You don't think that's abuse? You don't think that right there is abuse? I'm going to tell you, I don't know what the hell you would call it. If it's not abuse, I don't know what the hell you call it. Get your houses in order. Get your houses in order, you guys. Because I'm going to tell you something. When this world starts accepting this kind of stuff right here, instead of shutting it down and putting people like this in prison where they belong, when this world starts accepting this kind of thing, I'm going to tell you what. The Lord's going to be coming anytime. The Lord's going to be coming anytime because this world can't get no more wicked than this. It can't get no more wicked than people, you know, doing these kind of things to little children and getting away with it. It don't get no worse than this, you guys. Get your house in order. That's all I got to say. And may God be with us all. May God be with us all. Listen, you guys, I'd like to talk about all of this, you know, even more extensively than what I did tonight. But like I said, you know, I got so much things going on. I have tons of things going on. And I did want to step out here. I did want to, you know, bring some of the stuff here to light for you guys. There's so many people, you know. Please do not get gaslighted by this bullshit. Do not let the Wells gaslight us any farther than they already have. These are some very evil beings. They are evil. I'm going to tell you now, they're evil. I don't care what anybody says. I firsthand talked to these people, and I'm telling you, they're evil as hell. And that's not my opinion. That's not my opinion. That is the truth. That is the truth. They're mother freaking evil. And I'm not going to get gaslighted by these mother freakers that show all signs of doing what had been done to this little girl. They're showing all signs of being the ones that did it. And I truly believe they are. And they could kiss the backside of my ass. That's what they could do. Is kiss the backside of my ass. That's exactly right. Just saying. I'm going to tell you now. We are for Summer. Army is for Summer. Summer is the victim. All of these children, all of Don Wells, the 2 kids in Utah, the 4 kids in Tennessee are all the victims. Candus Wells, the 2 in Wisconsin, the one over in Arkansas, and the 4 in Tennessee are all the victims. These children, all of these children that these 2 people have down the road used and abused and neglected severely, they are the victims. Not Don and Candus. Don't let these mother freakers gaslight you with a couple of pieces of paper, as like I said, ain't worth the paper it's written on. That is nothing but Child Protective Services just done with them, because they've already protected the children that made it. And like I said, they probably know more than we do. And they probably, probably just like law enforcement. And I believe law enforcement personally believes that Summer was not alive on those milk jugs. Ronnie asked why they didn't call for 4.5 hours. And, if that's the statement he made, then he believes she was not alive on those milk jugs as well. I do not believe she was alive on the milk jugs also. And therefore, they know that, Summer is already in the arms of Jesus Christ. And the boys are already adopted out. And everybody that they could save, they have saved. And they're just letting it go. Now tell Don and Candus Wells, if they want to show everybody something, show us those lie detectors test that they fucking passed. Show us that. Then we can talk, right? Then we can talk. But show us that. You're so eager to bring this shit out. Bring that out. Just saying. Oh, you can't do that, can you? No. So, since you can't do that, we're just going to stay out here and we're going to keep going on the way we're going to find Summer, to get her found, brought home, and justice served. We're going to keep on keeping on, trying to get law enforcement to do something over there at the cemetery with that grave. Because we want to know, is she there or she isn't? We have the right to know if she's there or she isn't. And it's their job to be finding it out. Amen? Absolutely. So we're going to keep on keeping on. We're here for the victims, not some muck like them. We don't support suspects. And I'm telling you, they're the number one suspects. I don't care what Child Protective Service is doing. What I care about is what the law's doing. And Ronnie Lawson said they're not cooperating. They're lawyering up. Ronnie Lawson, and says no signs of abduction. His partner says, we did a deep dive search. No signs of wandering off. That only leaves one sign, and that's foul play. And that makes the Wells number one suspects. There you go. There you go. That sums it up right there. And personally, I don't think, Josie's going to be going home unless he gets emancipated and able to go back home. Because if they don't emancipate him and he goes back to the Wells house, then the Wells have to do, they will have to do drug drops. They'll have to be doing random drug drops. That means it will be Child Protective Services job to be showing up there unannounced, and say, here, you need to go drop today, like right now. And they have a right to do it, for 6 months, a year, however long they decide to hold the case open, they can make them drop. And it's going to be at least 6 months. So they're going to, do you think Don and Candus can stay clean and sober for 6 whole months? I don't think so. I don't think they could, be clean and sober for 6 whole hours, if you ask me, from the time they wake up. Just saying. Oh, yeah. I'm going to tell you. So, if they emancipate him, if he gets emancipated, then that means, he can go home, that he can go home. And he can do whatever he wants, because, if he gets emancipated, he can do whatever he wants to do, because he's the same as an adult. But that's the only way that they can't go up there, on the hill and for the next 6 months and give, and be making the wells drop, clean. And the first time they don't, well, he's back out of there anyway. So I don't see Josie going back. I don't see him going back. Personally, I don't think Don and Candus would let him, because they know they can't stay clean. And they wouldn't be doing him no justice anyway. What's up, girl?
Hi, Mama. Hi, everybody in chat. Summer's Army.
Hey, girl. How you
Wanted to come
doing?
and say prayers to you. Love you. Hope everything's good. I know you're working your butt off.
I love you too, girl. You know it. Yeah, it's just getting ready to head out of here. I got to get out of here. I got so many things to take care of.
You got a
So
lot. I know you do.
Absolutely.
Well, them wells, anything it can pass is your driver's test, and I think they got that out of a bubble gum machine. So sorry about that.
Right. Hey, I just wanted to come in. I wanted to touch base with everybody, because so many people, were worried. They were stressed out. They was believing this. They were getting gaslighted by all of this, and and it's all BS. It's all a bunch of
Yes, it
BS. And I'm going to call it out. And and I'm going to tell you guys. I also posted, I posted over on Facebook. I do the research. I put it all, together, and I post it out over there so you guys can read it. You can understand it yourself, and what's going on in Summer's case. I always be keeping you guys updated, even when I can't be here. Hopefully in a couple of days, you guys, I'll be back, and I'll be back study. But right now, I got a lot going on, and I wish I could be out here, but I can't right now. So,
No, you can't.
just bear with me, you guys. Bear with me.
Make sure y'all like and subscribe and share. Hit that button. Show support
Amen.
to Summer's Army and Mama PG's, please.
Absolutely.
Well, I love you, Mama, and I'll keep in touch like I've been doing.
Hey, girl, I appreciate it. I love you guys. You guys know it.
I
I
love
try
you.
to keep in touch as much as possible, on Facebook with everyone, and doing as much as I can, when I can. So, as I
blow you up
said,
every day.
right. I'm going to tell you, I wish I could be live more. I wish I could be out here live more, but as I said, that'll get better. in a few days. I just got a lot of overtime and a lot of things, end of the year stuff and and I had a kid graduated too, and so forth and so on. So
Right.
um, I got a lot of things happening. So just bear with me and let me take care of what I need to take care of behind the scenes, and we'll get back to normal.
That's right. Prayers to
Oh,
everybody that needs
girlfriend,
them too.
did you hear Crystal come? Oh, it's a do tell. Did you hear Crystal come out and tell all her family up business? And they kept cutting her husband or the kids or somebody kept cutting her Wi-Fi off, and she would go
Yes.
off, and then she'd have to come back in. They cut it off, and she'd come back in. She had police and everything there. I was like, oh my gosh, no! And it was her son's birthday. I was like, oh my goodness, girl. I
Yep.
mean,
I loved it.
I was like,
She's
oh my
crazy.
goodness, I got all this to tell and I can't get in to tell it. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
She's just crazy. That's all she is cray cray.
Right? Hey, Crystal, if you're listening, girl, we're praying for you.
That's right. Prayers, Crystal. You'll need them.
I'm going to tell you, I hate to say it.
You know, it's
You
sad
know,
because Fred is the only one that showed his lie detector test. And, he was kind of embarrassed and ashamed, but at least he showed us. You know what I mean? He's not scared to show
right,
everybody, let
right.
people
I
know.
mean, well, Fred showed us because he wanted to show us that the whales could have showed us too and
Right.
didn't,
And if it gets
you know.
made, it's going to be a fake one. In my opinion, it's going to be a
So,
fake one if they bring it out.
you know, you gotta, you gotta kind of, I hate to say it, but I kind of, I kind of like Fred. I kind of like Fred. I mean, I don't know what all Fred has done. I don't know all what his involvement in this, and everything is, if really
Right.
anything other than giving Dom Wells advice, um, when it comes to a lot of things. But I'm sure when Don's asking him for advice, he ain't telling him who he's asking it for or who he's going to use it on, so
Right.
probably Fred's even innocent in that perspective, but I do know behind the scenes Fred's trying to help all he can. He's trying to help all he
Right.
can to get as much answers as possible for Summer's case as well. So, you know, um, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate
Right.
that. But, um, everyone's a suspect. Everyone's a suspect,
Yes.
right now. And we can't let our guard down on anyone. We can't let our guards down on anyone because, Summer is the topic. The goal is to find her, bring her home and get justice
Yes.
for her. And Summer's the victim. And,
That's right.
and as long as she's the victim and we don't know who the real suspects are, we got to keep suspecting everything and keep, doing all we can to get her found. That's just
Right.
the way
And
it
you
is.
can't lose something. You know what I mean? You can't lose something that you already know where you put it at.
Absolutely.
So
And I and,
where do
and
they
I
put Summer at?
I truly believe that Candace met up with Chad Arnold because
Yep.
Chad Arnold is not only a grave digger, but he also is related to all the main um grave diggers around there. The Morlocks are like number
Right.
one, and his wife is kin to the Morlocks, so that makes him kin to them. And
Right.
so this is a group of people working together, and they will work. Trust me, they will. They're capable of anything. You know, they're not a bunch that prays together, but they are a bunch that stays together.
Stays together. Flock and stay
Amen.
together. They go flap like
Amen.
wings.
Absolutely,
And that
girl.
Morlina, she had to help drive because she can drive fast
Oh,
now.
I'm gonna
She's
tell
been out
you.
here for a reason.
The reason I think, the main reason that Marlena came out here was for Chad. Was for
Yep.
Chad to find out about Chad was real nervous about that cemetery that was being looked into over there. And Chad
Right.
needed, Chad was scared, worried, panicked out, and he sent her out to try to get all the information about what's going on over there. And therefore, that even makes me more suspicious that Summer's there than ever before because of the way they're all acting. And not only that, but this cemetery has, brought them out of the woodwork like a pile of roaches. I mean, Don Wells has come out. Candus has been coming out, Jody Sue's, Andy's. I mean, it really stirred up the nest, right?
Yes, it did.
And we was drawing them all out here. And anytime anytime you have a pack of flies coming to the honey, it's sweet.
Yep.
That's just how it is. All right, girl.
Yes,
Well, I'm going to head out of
Love
here and
you.
get back to what I've been doing. And
I know.
hey, girl, I love you too. You know it.
I love
it.
you, Mama. Prayers to you. Prayers to
Hey,
everybody.
prayers
Prayers
to
to
you
your
and
family.
yours. You tell
Love you
your
later.
husband. You tell your husband.
Okay.
Prayers to him. God be with y'all.
Thank you. We love you.
Hey, love you too, girl. All right. God be with us all, right? God be with us all. Listen, PG's going to head out of here, but I don't ever head out of here before I asked all of you, please, please, please keep those prayers going up for Summer Moon, Utah Wells. Keep them going up for this little girl, from our lips to God's ears through his son, Jesus Christ. I know he's listening. I know that God can do things we cannot do. God can bring her home. Let us pray that he does in the name of his son, Jesus Christ. And let us pray that these people just stop trying to gaslight us out here. Let us pray that instead of trying to gaslight us, that they just come out and tell the truth about what happened to this little girl. She deserves that. She deserves that in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Let us keep the prayers going up. Let us keep praying, you guys. And let us pray for all these other missing children as well. There's so many out here needing prayer. And pray for one another. Pray for one another. Family that prays together does stay together. Trust and believe that. Good night, everybody. God bless. Much, much love.